Welcome to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am Rulani Baloyi. Thank you for joining us once more, even as we come to you every Sunday from 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. All of you watching us on Facebook and our YouTube page, you are welcome and invited to be part of this conversation this afternoon by dropping down your questions, your comments on the comments section. All of you listening to us via Bold Moves Radio, you are welcome to send your WhatsApps to 081 358 8745. You are welcome to drop your WhatsApps on 081 358 8745. We invite you to be part of this conversation, even as we continuously say, as Bold Moves Radio and Prudent Woman, to say, we spark conversations and would like to invite you to be part of this conversation as we empower women to have information so that we can respond properly when the time comes, because someone who is informed will never be unable to respond to situations that come before them, but they are always intentional because they have the information that informs them on how and what type of a decision to make when there is a need to do so. So they are impactful to their loved ones. Would like to say thank you for joining us. Of course, we continuously say Happy Women's Day, Happy Women's Month, I'm sorry, because we continue to celebrate the women of South Africa, even as we acknowledge their resilience. And we like to say thank you for all of you who have been part of our sessions, even as we started from the beginning of the month of August when we had our lovely Cecile Tabi saying, who came forth to tell us how she was a victim and how she has overcome through showing us the resilience of women and by becoming a victim. And of course, following was Sesna, who came forth and said, even if I did not get an opportunity to go to school before I was of age, I managed to go back because I said it is never too late. And last week we had a wonderful woman, Sister Kanu, who was sharing with us to say separation can never be the end. She showed us how through the resilience, when she had to end her relationship, her marriage, she was able to rise up and forge forward. And now she's a successful businesswoman, successful social entrepreneur who goes around and empower other women. And we brought all this to you to show forth the resilience of women of South Africa, even as we encourage you to say it is never too late. You can make it. You can not remain a victim. It is never to say that is the end. You can make a difference in your life. You can change your situation. And we would like to say, yes, of course, the women of South Africa, we are proud of you. You are resilient. Even the president of the country has acknowledged that the women of this country are resilient. Today, we bring forth again to you as we close the month of August, the month in which, as a nation, we had set aside a day to be a holiday, something that was a sacrifice, because you will know that holidays calls upon business and economic activities to come to a standstill, and most of the time you find that there are losses because people did not go to work. But as a country, they saw it fit, our government saw it fit to set aside that day because of the importance of women. And I would like to say, women, wherever you are, clap hands for yourself, because we are making it as women, and we are showing forth our resilience by taking the space which God has called us to occupy in our rightful families and other different places where we are. Thank you so much. Today we have Says Patience Napo. Says Patience is a social worker. We said, as Prudent Woman, even as we acknowledge the different seminars, workshops, all the different activities that were meant to empower women, that were meant to encourage women throughout this month, we said the onus is upon an individual woman to make sure that they love themselves and they accept themselves as they are. And Says Patience Napo, today she's here to talk to us about a very important subject, self-validation. Says Patience will take us through, by the end of this show, who will fully understand what is self-validation and how is it important in the life of an individual to make sure that they live a fulfilled life. Says Patience would like to invite you and say to greet the audience, and we'll like to say welcome to Prudent Woman once more, because she's not coming here for the first time, but she has been here. Thank you so much, Says Patience. Go ahead and greet our audience.
Glad today we meet again. Another different topic, not as depressing as the previous one. So I'm saying to all the women and the Bokotos, it is a privilege to be celebrated. I'm so pleased that the bold moves have seen it worth that we come here today and close the women talking about the discussion that actually involve us as individuals, not other people. How do we then contribute in ensuring that women find themselves and find what makes them happy and what makes them unique and worth it?
Thank you very much, Says Patience. And of course, yes, it's not the first time you are here. And of course, as you say, you are not coming on a topic that is depressing. I think this is very close to your heart. I heard when we were talking before the show that this self validation is a subject that is very, very close to your heart. And I would like to believe we are going to be learning a lot this afternoon from you. Says Patience, as we start our discussion, what will you say self validation is?
I'm thinking self validation, firstly, would be talking about me, the feeling that I have to feel worthy, to legitimize my feeling, the act of accepting my internal experiences, including the thoughts and feelings. In short, it's just being you with the open mind to grow and becoming a better version of yourself. So it means you don't need an approval for somebody else to make you feel validated. So even though I've indicated initially that all of us crave to be validated, but of important thing is the validation that comes from within. So if you're still there seated and you are waiting for somebody else to say to you, Sister Rolani, you can do it, you can organize, you can go on live, you can connect all the cables. Unfortunately, you might not find the person doing that. So self-validation is important because it's the only thing that keeps us going. So if you don't have self-validation, it means you are likely to give up in life. And we've seen it in many instances where people have given up because they did not have something to live for. So if you are self-validated, it means you have something to look forward to in the following day, in the following year. Every time you keep on hoping that things will be better and you strive for bettering yourself.
Mm-mm. So, from what I hear you, it's that self validation, as the word says, it's about you assuring yourself of who you are and you loving yourself, knowing who you are, understanding that it must come from who you are, from you to know that you can do certain things. Um, just for the sake of our audience's patience, I would like you to give, say, an example of what will you consider to be self validation.
I think number one point is you need to start celebrating your successes.
Mm,
Sometimes you find people who would second guess their decision. Every time they make a decision, they want somebody else to come and say, "I've made this decision. Are you okay with it? Is it okay?" Immediately you have self-validation. You know what is important, what decision you need to do. You dress how you want, even if it's in the most respectful way. You don't need somebody else to tell you today you are dressing well, because the day they don't tell you, you will go back and change your clothes 7 times. You don't over
mm,
explain things. You don't try to say to people, "Oh, this is what is happening." And I would like to give an example. Let's say you have dressed well, Sister Roland, and you are going to church. Then you
mm.
find yourself, your pantyhose run, barco run and runs.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
then if you're not self-validated, what will happen when you meet the next person? You are likely to say to the next person, oh, my pantyhose ran when I was entering the car. So you like to over explain things even when there's no need for you to explain. Another thing, you don't give up to peer pressure. So you stand up for yourself. And
Mm,
of important is that you own your journey. It means as and when you're walking in your journey, you don't actually off ramp and one now to become Sesrulan. Even when other people might call you foolish, you must know that sometimes they're secretly jealous because you've done something that they've been envying to do, but they did not have the guts to do it. So usually self-validated people might not be the people with the higher IQ, but will be the
mm,
people who actually believe in themselves. And it means you love yourself without explanation. You trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. You accept yourself as a key to happiness. And another thing, we always confuse self validation as something that a person does not go through problems. You go through
mm,
problems, you cry, you can scream, but the fact is that you don't give up. So that is the bottom line. When you don't give up and you are willing to improve yourself on a daily basis, and I think that is more about self validation. And what we've seen more is that people who lack self validation, is they would
mm,
always be using the phrases like, sure, I'm not sure I can do it. So you undermine your abilities to do certain things,
mm,
or I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not good at this. So they give you a task in church and say, this is what you can do. We want you to put this project. We want you to do this. Number one thing you'll say, yo, I don't think that I can do it, but I think suspicion is better than I am. She can do it better. And if you do it well and we congratulate you, you go on to say, no, maybe I was just lucky. So you actually underestimate yourself. You don't put a brand in your name. So for you to self validate, you need to
mm,
understand, who am I without Sesurulani around me, or my kids, or my husband, my family, my workplace.
mm, mm. You must be able to identify yourself just as yourself without attaching other people's titles or without being affirmed by other people. Um, I would like to say to all of you who have just joined us today, we are talking to Says Patience, even as we close the month of August, the month in which we're celebrating women, by bringing to you this wonderful woman, a social worker, who will be talking to us about self validation. And we are saying, as Prudent Woman, even though we have had a lot of opportunities, conferences, seminars where women were empowered, unless you agree within yourself that you are important, you may not use or you may not have a positive impact. You may not live a fulfilled life because, you know, you cannot wait for other people to say you are well, as Sis Patience is saying. You cannot wait for other people to say you can do it. It must start within you, because when you wait for other people to validate you, you are as good as having been able as well to give them power and authority to act as well destroy you, because it means they've got their authority to do anything about you. This Patience, on a lighter note, as South Africans, more special South African women, and mostly people our age and those beyond, we say we ambokodos. Bathi wathi timfazi wathinti mbokodo. What will you like to say around that? Do you think it's because we have positioned ourselves as women to say we are very strong? We are mbokodos, we can stand for anything, and that's why society is receiving us the way they are receiving us.
I think, Sesurulani, the other issue that is killing us as a nation is the stereotype that we find ourselves in. So we want to live in the current dispensation, but our mind is programmed to live in the previous dispensation. So we want to join the two, and sometimes it's very difficult, especially as women, because women, we have been made to go through the process of proving ourselves in every situation. So it means when you do certain things, people need you to explain why are you able to do it. And I'll give an example. You go for an interview, you get a better position at work. The first thing that your position is going to be aligned to is it's either she's having an affair or it's either she's doing this. So we are not trusted, and even within ourselves, that we can do certain things on ourselves. We are also expected, again, which is very important. Women are often expected to be accommodating, to be emotional, while men are expected to be self-confident and aggressive. So if your child now starts behaving like soft or emotionally good, like, hey, you are behaving like a woman, women are going to destroy you. Women will hurt you. Women will break your heart. Issues like the domestic behaviors that we find ourselves in. Some expect that women will take care of the children, will cook, will clean at home, while men take care of the finances, work on the car, or do some home repairs. And I think that's one thing that we are growing up with. Issues around occupation. Some people are quick to assume that, teachers and nurses and social workers are women, while, your pilots and doctors and engineers are men. Your physical appearances, for example, women are expected to be thin, which also is one of the things that you're expected to be thin, to be graceful, while men are expected to be tall and masculine. Men are also expected to dress and groom in a way that are stereotypical to the gender. So when men are wearing pants and short hairstyle, women wearing dresses and makeup, so it's what is expected. So it means that for us to actually reach our realization in terms of self validation, we need to actually check those stereotypes. Are they worth it? Are they going to give us any progress in life? And you'll realize how these stereotypes are actually linked into issues around GBV, which is very critical. That when we expected women to perform in this particular way, and they do it in this particular way, or they now cross the boundary, they're expected that no, you can't be doing this because this is a boy's duty. So we need to reprogram our mind. I think that's the most important thing. So if we reprogram our mind, accept that we are moving with time. We should not want benefits while we're still living in the old dispensation. So women are allowed now to do things that men were doing or men would be doing. And I always say, maybe one thing that we are not doing well as a society, Sutherland, is when we discuss issues about men, we always want to put men and women, and there's no way that we can put men and women in the same scale. Reason being, I think in South Africa we are better because we are at 51.1 in terms of the state's SA, South African population, which is female, which says, females should actually be taking the lead, should be in the forefront. And if you also check the states in terms of the voting, most of the people that are turning into the voting or into the voting polls are women. But when you go back and look into the majority of mayors that we have in our municipalities, you'd find majority of mayors being men, and which says, what is it that as women we are doing? We would want to see ourselves addressing the issues of inequalities, but you can't address inequalities if you not self-validated yourself. I know that there might be a position where a woman was told, no, but you can be a mayor. And she goes, but I can't. There's this so and so. So and so can do it better. I've seen him very vocal, that you actually underrate or undervalue yourself. And it is very important that as women, as Bogotos, we must take the lead, because we really need, if we can't address it, our male counterpart will see it as an opportunity to actually go forward and take all the opportunities available, and be left with nothing. And it must start with us as this generation and the generation that is still to come, to say we don't want to compare ourselves with men, but we want equal opportunities. And those equal opportunities as when we believe in ourselves. And I'm emphasizing believing in ourselves, because I know most of the people have dropped the opportunities because they feel, no, maybe you can give it me next year. I am not yet ready. Women are in the position of making decisions, recommending policies, coordinating empowerment effort. And according to the state, say again, all the registered voters, women, we are at 55%. So it means as women, we are in majority, and we can make a great decision in promoting women empowerment.
You are so correct, Sis Patience, because um, as you say, it must start with us validating yourself that you can do it. But what is said is that women, not only that I cannot validate myself, but other women as well look down upon the other woman to say you cannot make it. When you were giving an example about um, looking at the local government to say how many mayors are women, but when you look at the voters' roll, how many are women? It's more women than men. But we know in those very organizations, the same women, when a woman is being brought forth to say this one can be the leader, is the very same woman who will say, we will not make it. If they are to, now we are going into the voting season, if they are to put a woman as the head of elections, it's the very same women who will say, we are going to lose because there's a woman. So it must be about us validating ourselves as women and as individuals. And I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, now I think our audience and myself included, we understand as patients what self validation is. But when we come back, let us talk on why is it important? And again, the misconceptions, because listening to the definition of self validation, it's very simple for one to have misconceptions about it, to think it's about pride, it's about looking down upon other people. I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, let us talk on those. You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am your host, I'm Rulani Baloy. Today we have our guest, says Patience Napo, a social worker who has been here previously on the show. Today she's talking to us about a very important subject as we end the month of August, the month that we were celebrating and commemorating what women have done in this country to try and fight the injustice of the past and even going forward women continue to fight to find their place. But we are saying, as Prudent Woman, the onus is upon the individual woman to be able to have a positive mindset about their capabilities. To say, I can do it. Says Patience, before we went on an ad break, she explained to us what self validation is and why is it important, says Patience. Why should one have self validation?
Thanks, Cecil. Maybe the first thing that I would indicate is that relying on external validation to understand your worth is not sustainable. So I want us to note that if you rely on somebody else to tell you that you can do it, it is never sustainable because you will depend on people to build you. The same time you give them the same power to break you. So it means if I rely on you to put me in that particular position, it means the day that I don't want you, I would definitely actually put you back because you've relied on me to do certain things. I wanted to actually, before I go into the importance, to go back to the statement that you've made, which is very important to say. You'd find women saying we have potential, we can go, we can make it, and other women saying no, but you can't do it, being dragged down by other women. You need to understand the different personalities. We have the personalities of the sadists. The sadists, people that enjoys inflicting pain on others and they get satisfaction on that. So these people, you'd never do anything good in their eyes. That's where the challenges of not being self-validated is. So if you surround yourself with the sadists, and you're not self-validated, you are likely to change your lane from one lane to another. So it is very important that we understand that. Again, of importance is that before you can even talk about the importance is when you have started criticizing yourself for long. There are people that on their daily basis they criticize themselves. You look into your hairstyle and say, but this one is not nice. You go back and say, but this one is not nice. You try to approve yourself and see what happens. The day you start approving yourself is the day that you would walk and go into the car and walk with confidence. So we have challenges of people not approving themselves to an extent that you criticize yourself more than how other people criticize you. Why self-validation is important is because it boosts your sense of self-worth. Ne? You stand up for what you believe in. No, nobody can just come and say, yo, what you're saying, what you believe in is not correct, and then now you've shifted, you've moved, and you've went somewhere because you don't trust your decision in the first place. Another thing is that it enhances the relationship. Ne? It doesn't become all about me. You must understand that as and when we live in this world, we have people that are actually self-centered. It's all about them and not about others. But when you're self-validated, you understand how to work, how to embrace the relationship that we have, how to live an authentic life. You don't live to please people. You resist societal pressure when you are in the. I'll give an example. You are a Christian, and 95% of the family members believe in African culture or upasa, ne? And then you go there and they make you feel all these guilt. If you're not self-validated and you don't believe yourself, you are likely actually to be swayed in by the majority. But a self-validated person understands how is it to be authentic. More special to the sadist because I'm giving an example that you always have these people that are sadists that would never allow you to trust your own instinct, make your decision align to what they want. The most important thing again, Sister Run, in terms of why is it important? For you to wake up every morning, you need to have a purpose why you are waking up. I would like to give an example. There's one writer or author who had said at some point, and I'm sure that this is a proper language, who said, you are the only sperm that survived of million sperms. And he said, the reason why you survived was not because you were clever enough or you ran enough or you ran faster. Because if you were to run faster, it means you would have been an athletic. You will be running now in athletics and all those. It says it's because all those other sperms were actually giving you, uploading you to say, go out there and represent us. They've given an opportunity. And you need to look back into your life and say, what I'm doing, honey, I want to spend me saying I could have done a better job. So as and when you do better by yourself, you need to understand those who have given you an opportunity to become yourself. So it means validation at all times will come from inside before the outside validation can come, which we all need it. You need to be validated. You need when you've done well to have somebody else say, you've done well, keep it up. But if it doesn't come, it should not be something that makes you stop living. So the reason to wake up is the most important thing that makes us want every woman today, every prudent woman to say, please be validated, validate yourself. And validation against Sulani, and I'm happy you said I should also talk about the issues of misconception about validation. Self-validation is not selfish. Ne? It's not all about prioritizing our needs above other people's needs. Ne? It's all about us understanding what is it that we need to do, living with other people. Self-validation doesn't mean ignoring feedback. It doesn't mean that I need to be proud and not. I can still be validated, but I would need to get a positive feedback or a negative feedback that builds me. More especially criticism from people with higher EQ. People who will build you and say, you've done well. I think you need to improve on this aspect. This is what you've done. Not just people who would come and criticize you just because they want you to feel down. Another thing, misconception that I don't want our listeners to go and viewers to go home with: self-validation is not easy. So people have a misconception that self-validation is easy. It is not easy because practicing self-validation,
Mm,
especially if they've been conditioned to seek external validation. And I'll give an example. First of all, when we were growing up in our rural villages, Venda
mm,
and Guyana and everywhere, when you are dark skinned, you were made to feel that you are not, appropriate. You need to, and you've seen our parents getting certain things to lighten their skins, because we were told that for you to be more acceptable, you need to be acceptable to the external world. Self
mm,
validation requires honesty and self awareness. You need to be honest with yourself and accept your emotions as valid. Unfortunately, if you don't self validate, you would not grow. Ne? Because
mm,
it helps to build self esteem, you have healthier relationship. And honestly, people with higher self validation maintains their relationship both to women as well as to men. So you would see
mm,
them in terms of the relationship. But where does it come from, this self validation? It comes from when you're still young, you come back and your mother says to you, "Oh, Manaka, you're beautiful. This dress looks nice on you. I like it. Keep it up." Self validation comes from there. Your parents actually gave you hope of saying you can make it. But if
mm,
today you are a parent, you're a prudent woman today listening to me, and you're still a parent who all the time when your child has done a minor mistake, you actually emphasize on that you are a failure, you are stupid, you are all this. Your child will grow up with it to an extent that you will also enter into the relationship and marriage. They will forever be expected to prove themselves because their parents actually told them that you cannot make it. So it is important that self-validation would emanate from what parents actually teaches us. I've seen it in parents. Parents, their parents will tell you to make it. That Wanaka, you'll make it when you feel like you are at your lowest. They'll say you are going to make it, and you will wake up in the morning because somebody else is cheering you. And when you
mm,
fail, they say to you, you can still wake up and try again. This is a part of life. So I need prudent women to do the self introspection. What
mm.
kind of women are you? Are you instilling self validation to your kids? Or are you the pet that is destroying your kids to make sure that they start to have want approval from other people? And when you're not validated by your parents, unfortunately, you seek approval from external forces, which might actually lead to things that you would not like. So I think it is very important that we understand that we need to go back and start practicing self validation. And we need
Mm.
to start practicing it with ourselves. Appreciate yourself. Look at yourself and say, I'm the better version of myself. I don't think that if somebody else was to come tomorrow would be better than me. And it starts there, being better version of yourself.
Self. Thank you. Says patience, as you saying, self validation starts even as a young child, how you were brought up. It's very true, because I'm just reminded when I went to varsity, I had my father who came and said to me, "I know you'll make it. You will not fail." And he wrote a letter for me to go back. Back then we didn't have WhatsApps and a whole lot of things. I will always look at the letter whenever it was tough. I will look and read the letter. And that letter was validating me throughout. So I agree with you to say, as parents, as prudent women, let us look at ourselves and ask ourselves what impact are we passing on to our children, and not only to our children, even our loved ones, everyone around us, because we can destroy their self-worth, and not that because they are seeking for your validation. But if you are too strong and you come too strong to a person, I would like to believe you end up harming their self-confidence. And we are not in any way saying all the women who are going through abusive relationships is because they are not self-validating. That's not what we are saying. But we are saying one needs to look at themselves. You must assure yourself that you are a better version of yourself. Even as Patience has said, you must always prove to say to all those ones that could not soldier in to make sure that you are conceived, you must prove to them that you were the best one. You must always say, I was the best one. I always say, I feel I will be failing in my call if I do not do my best, because the word of God says He created me in His own image. and he's got a great plan for my life. So if I allow small things to pull me down and say you cannot make it, and I fold my arms, I'm failing my Father, who is the source of my life, the Almighty God. So, as Christians, we've got something to keep on pumping us to say, you can make it. Continue to validate you. So, says Patience, as you were talking, uh, it says to me, self-validation, it finally makes the society, how we will view society. And at this point in time, as a nation, we've got quite a number of societal problems, and which I know as a social worker you encounter on a daily basis. I just want you to help us to show the link between self validation and societal problems that we are currently facing as a nation, more especially with a focus on gender based violence.
Thanks, Rulan. And I'm sure maybe to draw a link would be very simple. We talked about not being validated. So when you're not being validated, this is what usually happens. Our brain is programmed to say most of the things that are negative. And I'll give an example. So if you rely mostly on external validation and you think you have dressed appropriately or you have dressed appropriately, then you meet a sadist or somebody else who will just want to say things as they want, and they say to you, no, but these earrings are not fitting do not match your outfit. The whole day you are likely to concentrate on the earrings because our brain actually is programmed to say most of the things that are negative. To an extent that as much as we say them, we are likely to bleed into those people who did not cut our wound. It means we will cry at the wrong funeral. Reason being, GBV is all about power. So it means he who has power is likely to abuse. So I want to give this example, number one, so that we don't make a mistake. Being validated does not mean that you're not going to experience GBV. Remember, there might be who feel threatened about the status quo, about you being validated, and they would want to prove that you cannot make it and actually drag you down. GBV has nothing to do with you as a victim, but has everything to do with somebody else who abuses this power to violate somebody else's right. So it is very important for us to understand that for you, taking control of your situation might minimize the risk of being exposed to gender-based violence, but it doesn't mean that GBV is not going to happen. We've seen women in position of power when immediately she becomes having a senior position, and now you are married to a husband who's earning lesser than you. The husband feels threatened. No, this is what you're doing. I've had a case where a woman would say, my husband will put also cloth in my vagina because he wants to see if I haven't slept with anyone while I'm at work. And this is a person that has position of power. This is what happened. Now that this husband abuses this power because now you want to gain power, because GBV is all about power. So you want to have power, you abuse this person, now you get control over this person, you have power on this person. This person who's being abused, who is at the position of authority, will then go and abuse those that are at a lower level than her. It means she will cry at the wrong funeral. She will bleed onto those people that did not cut her. So now I'm being abused by my senior because my senior is being abused by the husband. Who am I going to abuse next? I'm going to abuse my kids because the person that I have power over becomes my kids. So it means the cycle of violence would not stop because everybody who's been abused and they don't deal with the trauma of the past, they are likely to actually get it on somebody else who did not cut them. So it is very important for women to understand that we want them to go into the programs of economic empowerment so that we reduce the risk of being in an abusive relationship. We don't need to be, and for some men, this represents a loss of power. Remember, when we are saying women must be heavy, we must be empowered, they must have source of income. For men, this might represent the loss of power, authority. And culturally, men generally being ascribed the role of being the head of the household, the protector, the provider. The problem with gender-based violence now lies with the perpetrator. My advice always would be to the prudent woman: don't say my things are going well, I don't need to go for counseling. Go for counseling even when your things are going well. Because you do not know. We talked about self validation. Where can we draw the line now simpler? Is because I might
Yeah.
be self validated, but somebody else has a power over me. And I will give an
Mm.
example just like, you might respect and like your pastor. I'm giving that as an example, and I hope Pastor Strike will not say I'm talking to him. But you might be so close to your pastor to an extent that,
Mm.
whatever that your pastor says, you agree to it because you have developed that sense of trust. The day the pastor uses his power in a negative way to influence you, you are likely to find yourself experiencing GBV. So it means every time might be a ticking time bomb. If they say to you, "Oh, but you can't provide for your husband. Why are you buying grocery when you have your husband must supposed to?" But you did not have that initially, but somebody else has actually instilled that in your mind. Those are things that we talk
Mm.
about when we say self validation. So most of the people that you see them abusing their wives, you will ask them, when did you start? They will say, I was at the tavern and this guy was saying, do you leave your wife wearing that? Do you leave your wife going and, she will be cheating? And then he comes back all of a sudden, he's changing because somebody else with influence has actually put that in his own mind. And ask yourself, how many women today woke up and they've done something that was not necessarily something that they wanted to do, but something that they were told by somebody else to do. You might be having your partner coming back home at 9 o'clock and you do not see anything wrong, 9 p.m. The day you meet a woman who says, now with my husband, I carry his card, he comes back 4 o'clock home, he doesn't go, this is what he does. You go back home and you start wanting to implement that. So we have a problem of people that would want to copy what other people are doing and they want to implement it without actually understanding the rationale behind. So you can be self-validated, but at the same time understand the risk. But of importance is that self-validated women would not stay in an abusive relationship. They know
Mm.
that when the abuser is abusing them, it's not because of them. Because
Mm.
abuse has never been about you, it's about the perpetrator. So they remove themselves from the situation of game blaming. No, he was doing this because I did this. If I did not do this, he was not going to do that. So
Mm.
they don't become apologies. So they don't apologize unnecessary for things
Mm.
that they know should not be happening. That is the most important thing of self validation in a relationship. So if a person says to you, giving an example, says, "Oh, we've been in this relationship and I don't want you anymore."
Mm.
In normal circumstances, you are going to cry. Maybe first
Yes.
day you will beg the person to tell you, what have I done wrong? Please help me. Maybe it's me. I'm willing to correct and all those things. But self-validated women, having gone through that emotion for a day or so, the following day they understand it has nothing to do with me. I can still bounce back, be cautious and careful if I'm going to be exposed to the same in environment. So it is very important. Self-validation is very, very important to make sure
Mm.
that we understand. But of important, also keep your partner on board. It should not be all about you being
Mm.
self-validated. Also get your partner to be self-validated because you can be self-validated in the world of people that are in misery. What would be of benefit of you when everybody around you is sad, but you're the only person that is happy? So as and when you have a positive energy, you are able to transfer it to the next person and the world becomes a better place and you will be able to deal with the issues of GBV in a very effective way.
Thank you, Sis Patience. You have said a mouthful, to remind us that as victims, you are not responsible, but the perpetrator is the one that has got a problem. And also to remind us that when you are self validated, you must know that there are risks attached to it, because then you may be posing a challenge to the people around you. They may feel like you are too strong to them, you know. I've seen relationships where the other partner, either a woman or a man, feels, because it's only one partner that is self-validated and they are working alone, you know, they feel like you are overpowering me, you are all about, it's all about you. So it's very important, as you say, to walk along together. So we need to empower each other. As Prudent Women, we say we want to have a positive impact towards our loved ones and even ourselves. And of course, there's patience, as you said, you cannot give what you do not have. So if you are not self-validated, if you do not have that confidence, you cannot be confident around other people, and it will be very difficult for you to love other people because you don't even love yourself. You are not sure if you are worth it. So this is a very important topic, as you said, and would like to say, as Prudent Woman, as we are ending the month of August, the month in which we had a lot of empowerment programs, what is left, the onus is upon us. Let us be self-validated, because what I'm hearing from these patients is it means you have the confidence, you know who you are, you know what you stand for. So no one can come to you and instill what they want you to do on their behalf, but you know exactly how you want to be treated, you know how you want to treat other people. And such patients, I think self-validation also assists a person to be able to treat other people correctly, you know, because if I can look at myself and know how I want to be treated, we all know that you must treat other people the way you want to be treated. It's that simple. But if you have never sat and make an introspection of knowing how you want to be treated, how will you treat other people? Says patients, I think our time is flying. You know, the topic has got a lot in it. But I just want to invite you on this one to say, I'm here and I'm hearing you. You're talking self-validation. And I can attest that it seems I had a low self-esteem. How should I go about improving my self-esteem? How do I look at myself and say, yeah, I am, but I wish to be that woman that you were describing to us, who is self-validated? What is it that I need to do?
The first thing that you need to do, Cecilian, it's start by drawing your something that I like calling the histogram. So what is a histogram? So the histogram you would actually put ngachivenda ndi mutarambaro. I don't know in Xitsonga. Mutarambaro, you know, in maths, when we're still doing maths, we'll have the line and then you draw the ne. So with the histogram you'll have something like that. So you draw and say I was born in 2000, and then in 2007 I was involved in an accident. In 2000 and what I passed my matric. In this 2000 I was proposed. In this 2000 this year I lost my parents. So you draw all your aha and your down moments.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it means in that you should be able to go back yourself, because that's what you need to do before you can even start practicing it. To say, I have been in this situation. How did I move on? And I once gave an example to the couple that were going through divorce, and this woman was saying, I don't know how I'm going to cope with this person. This person is the love of my life. And I asked this person, uh, how many boyfriends did you have before this one? And she said, four. And I said, did you love them? Can you go back to those circumstances? Then what made you forget the first one? What made you forget the second one? So it means you have that resilience in yourself that made you actually move on. So it means when you've drawn that histogram, you also check, where did I draw my strength from for me to be here where I am. When I was at the deepest, I was able to move on. When you are done with that histogram, then go back to start complimenting yourself. When you wake up in the morning, you need to start complimenting yourself. Say to yourself, I am beautiful. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make this. It should be about you telling yourself that you're good. And
Mm-hmm.
immediately start practicing that and internalize. And you know, this Roland, with Christians is very easy. I always say Christians usually would believe that fasting, when they fast, God will answer their prayers. And it's something
Yeah.
that you've never seen, but it's something that you believe in. So self-validation is all about you starting to believe in yourself that when I do this, when I wake up in the morning and try this is going to work. Number
Okay.
two, the other issue that I want is for you to be present. You need to be mindful of your situation. You need to be
Mm,
mindful. You need to be able to separate between the issue, the person, and the situation. That is
mm,
the key for you to be self-validated. What is the issue, the person, and the situation is very critical. Let me give you an example so that our prudent women would understand. Let's say we are in the hall and we are not wearing masks, ne? And
mm.
a cleaner comes in and say, "Oh, guys, there's COVID. Please wear mask." You know how women are going to respond. Yo, when I open the cleaner, look at the floor, it's very dirty. Why are you not cleaning and all those things? And
Yeah.
suppose, let's say, the Ministry of Health just come into a hall. What do you think
Mm.
will happen? Everybody would wear the mask
Yes. Yeah.
because as individuals, we have tended to forget about the issues, but we concentrate on the persons. So for you to be self-validated, you need to understand the issues that are being addressed. And I would also
Mm,
give an example, a practical example. You phone your partner now because you were involved in an accident or you got a punch. I'm giving that as an example. When you phone
mm.
your husband or your partner, you'll phone him how many times? 20 times. You will find 20 missed calls. Ne? Maybe just
Mm.
learn you phone patience as your younger sister. When patience doesn't answer the call, what are you going to say? Oh, maybe she's busy, she's in the meeting. What is making this other person not busy or not being in the meeting? You see,
Yeah.
so it's because we have moved from issues now we deal with the people. And when you deal with the people, you are entitled. And
Mm,
entitlement in itself, you need to expect something out of it. So you need to understand that I need to separate between the issues, the persons, and the situation for me to actually start validating myself. The
mm.
other issue that is important is also for you as a prudent woman to understand what is it that I'm contributing myself. You know, sometimes we detach our position. You know, yeah, you arrive late and you want everybody to apologize to you, and you don't ask yourself, what is it that I've contributed myself? So being honest about yourself and how you feel at times assists you in understanding the issues around self-validation. You need to stop issues around I'm a bad person. You know I'm not good. I don't necessarily approve of other people, or people are not agreeing with what I'm saying. So validation itself starts with you as an individual. Also, I've already talked about the issue of Instagram where you use your history to self-validate. To say, I've been through this. I know I've been through this, but I've made it. I am here as a woman because I was exposed to those challenges. And those challenges actually assist me in dealing with my present past. But looking into your past experiences also means that you need to understand letting go. It's
Yeah.
not about something that you always no, I bought you trousers. You can't do that to me. People always says that.
Mm.
Having range of emotions and being angry at points, it's a normal feeling. But what we do with it, that becomes the problem.
Important
And
thing.
then of important against to learn is that you need to validate yourself with yourself, for yourself, by yourself. So it
Mm,
means it starts with you. I can't be waiting for somebody else to come and validate me. And
mm,
unfortunately, if you live for people's acceptance, you are likely to die from their rejection. When they reject you, you will feel like, no, I did not do things the way in which they were supposed to be done. I should have done this. So you'll forever be changing. And when
mm,
you reach the age of 60, all that you live for is regrets. I could have
mm,
done it better, I'm a better person. No, this is not me. So we don't want people to live in regret. We want people to say, I have done what I'm supposed to do. And I hate the statement. People always say, hey, social workers like saying forgive yourself. But forgiving yourself also is very important. You've made a lot of stupid mistakes. Sometimes you look back and say, wow, is it me? How did I go? But God has given me grace. I'm seeing tomorrow again. So you need
mm,
to be stupid enough to forgive yourself. And
mm,
forgiving yourself does not exonerate you from having made mistakes. It just means I acknowledge what I've done, but at the same time, I am not going to live in the past. And to show that people did not forgive themselves as Roland, I always say GBV cannot be presented by anyone. Eh? So have you
mm,
seen, you go into the training, you find a woman who has never healed, who wanted to fight the partner but did not have an opportunity. And when they come and talk to you in the seminars, they try to address their partners through you. So you would see them very angry. Hey, you know what a man does this, you must, hey, because they're stupid, your men are doing all these things. So I'm trying to say to women, to prudent women, go and deal with your emotions. Go and deal with things that you know that they trigger you. Some of the
mm,
things that you are going through are because of anxiety and fear. It's not because they are actually happening. It's what we call psychosomatic problems. And what is psychosomatic? Psychosomatic is very simple. When you
mm,
are in a hall and you are told that patients died of COVID and you know you
mm,
were not wearing a mask, automatically what happens, you get flu, you would feel your nose blocking, like, this is what I'm going through, I'm going to die, because automatically, that in itself, your brain tells your body how to react, and your body reacts in that way. So let's
mm.
guard against our brain, let's protect our brain, let's not be our worst enemies in what we think, because sometimes we are thinking things that are not actually inexistent and that do not exist.
Hmm, hmm.
Mm.
I like when you talk about the Instagram, because to me, coming from the Christian background, it's testimonies, and it's always very important to take your testimonies whenever you are faced with challenges, to say, you
Mm.
put them there and say, if he has taken me through this one, he can take me through again. So you see, self-validation, when we were starting, I would like to believe all the prudent women, you thought it was a very big weight. Even myself, it was like something out of this world. But she has simplified it. She has made it to so simple that we understand that it's something that we are doing on a daily basis, but some of us are doing it not being intentional. And now that we know, we're going to do it with intention. We will understand why we have to do it, how we are supposed to do it, and we will also be mindful of the people around us, because that's very important. As you self validate yourself, do not be over everyone else around you, because then there are dangers when once you do that. As she has shown to us that when you do that, those who have got power above you, they're likely to want to do other things to try and calm you down, to say, I'm still in control. Because by human nature, as individuals, we want to be in control. Everyone wants to have authority. So that's why I believe there's the saying to say, I'm in authority, but under authority. And I know most people do not like being under authority, but would like to be in authority. And as you validate yourself, acknowledge that you are under authority as well, and acknowledge that people around you are human beings with different characters to you. So what's important is to self-validate and live harmoniously with everyone around you as prudent women. First, patience, we have run out of time, but I would like you to just give us tips on how to go about this one. Just the simple tips that you can give to prudent woman, to someone who's saying, it's the first time I hear validation. How can I go about it? How do I start? Where do I start?
Number one, you need to start by being kind to yourself. Please be kind to yourself. You have you and only you. And when I say kind to yourself, I know that you wish your nose will be this straight, but it is not straight. Ne? It looks somehow. So be kind to yourself. Live well, you know that there are some flaws. You're not a perfect person, ne? But
Mm,
be able to look positive in your life than negatives in your life, because what is delaying us to reaching the issues around self-validation is our inability to actually understand that we are unique. I want people to understand that you might have been born with these genes, but you are unique. Your life experiences will be different from how the other person react or experience their life. But you are in control. You do not have to change what you are so that you can please other people. Go back, be kind, have self reflection, look, have a self talk, talk to yourself more. That will also assist you in ensuring that you grow. But be kind. I'm repeating again, be kind to yourself. Don't tell yourself I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. So if you tell yourself that, unfortunately, you might live with that and it might come. Unfortunately, our God always add to what we request and what we say with our minds. As he says, the just shall live by faith, but in faith, you need to say positive things.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Sis Patience. We have come to the end of our talk today. I would like to believe the prudent women have enjoyed the session. I see a number of them. I see Sagan Mabasa, Lebu Libuan, Nyeleti Baloi. They are saying, of course, it's true. And someone is saying, the previous stereotypes are no longer working for us. We need to look at where we are at this time and move forward. I would like to say thank you, says Patience. But before you leave, as you bid farewell to our women, I would like to invite you, say something to them as you say Happy Women's Month to the women of South Africa, the Mbokodos.
So I'm saying to the Mbogotos, let's lift each other up. You should not be just where you are in your position and you're not uplifting somebody else. We can build this world, we can create it, but we can make it a better place. Reason being, as women, we are in the forefront and of ensuring that the world becomes a better place. These boy kids comes in our arms. We raise them, we teach them the norms and standards and regulations and rules and everything. So we actually deposit more than 95% to our kids. So we can start depositing what is positive, but of important women. Let's go out there, let's engage with other women, let's seek help, let's empower ourselves, let's make sure that our girl kids go and get some form of employment or training and other things. In your corner, you can brighten and you can make sure that another woman get assisted and help through you. Thank you, Sister Roland.
Thank you so much, Sis Patience. That was this Patience Napo, our social worker. She was talking to us about self validation. If you have just joined us, but what is nice is technology has made it possible. You can go back and listen to the conversation. Thank you, Sis Patience. And to our technical team, DJ Macy, would like to say thank you, our executive producer, Pastor Strike. Thank you very much for the platform. We trust that all the prudent women who were listening to us have been enjoying, and all the listeners of Bold Moves Radio. Thank you very much for continuously listening to the different shows that Bold Moves Radio brings to you. And of course, now at 5:30, we will be having our favorite pastor, Pastor Frida Matebula. She will be talking to us on the living word from Monday in the morning at 6 o'clock up until Friday. 6 o'clock up until 6:30, we have different devotion where different men and women of God are leading us to pray for our nation, to pray for the body of Christ, to pray for ourselves and our children. And we invite you to be part of the devotion. And on Tuesday, we've got the African experience. On a Thursday, we have Love SA. We'd like to say thank you for tuning in, and we trust that you are enjoying listening to Bold Moves Radio, the, the radio that brings to you different empowerment programs. We'd like to say thank you as Prudent Woman. We shall be with you next week on Sunday from 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. But right now, just go and grab a cup of coffee, even as Pastor Dama Tebula will be coming in at 5:30. 5:30. Have a blessed afternoon and enjoy the week ahead. Thank you.